Forster. Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined by Kev McCluskey and Chris McElwain. I'm going to come to you first, Chris. What a difference 45 minutes can make in the world of Champions League football.
Look, this is the benchmark, right? This is the benchmark. This is if you come and play with the big boys, this can happen. The big boys in Europe. So, look, are we playing well? No. Dortmund are playing to a degree the way we played against St Johnstone in relative terms. We didn't allow the opposition to play any game. We controlled it. This is what's happening now to us. And it'll be a learning experience. It'll be a humbling experience, but it'll be a learning experience. Look, nothing that happens tonight will take away from what we're seeing domestically, how well the team is playing. But listen, this is a building process. It's a building process. We're in here to identify the level that we're at and the level that we want to aspire to. Now, what you're seeing on screen, during that match, and what you're seeing if you're watching it, lucky enough to be watching it in Dortmund, is you're seeing a team that has got upwards of 100 million in its front line, in football currency, and it's evident. I mean, Adeyemi is a world-class player. He is a world-class player, and he's surrounded by equivalent world-class players. We've got players who are full of potential, who are playing possibly at the top of their game so far this season. But I think there's a sobering reality, for us as supporters, and probably for those players on the park tonight. They're up against a benchmark European quality team. And listen, if you want to aspire to that level, you have to go out there, and even through all the negativity, you have to learn from it, you have to mature from it, and you have to get, you have to take whatever positives you can take from it. And the positives is, look, we're in this competition to make a mark. Making a mark doesn't mean you're going to go out there and beat every team and walk the competition. It's Europe's top competition, right? We're there because we've earned the right to be there. We've got to use it as the opportunity to develop, to progress, to mature, and to demonstrate that we can move forward using the lessons learned here tonight.
Well, the thing to take from all of that, Chris, is that teams in this competition can take a hiding. And we were talking about that. We want to get through a game like tonight without that, the prospect of Bayern Munich beating Dynamo Zagreb 9-2. When that happened, it wasn't as if everybody was shocked by it, because you do have an elite set of teams in this tournament who will be in the top 8 of the league. Now, if they come up against a side who are maybe teetering down the bottom third of this league and trying to get into the 90-24, they can do that kind of damage, particularly at home. At this moment, as we're sitting here 45 minutes in, Kevin, that is a distinct possibility. Now, you'll take no positives from that if they are able to turn the screw further. So, as Brendan Rodgers is sitting in that dressing room at this moment in time, what do we do? Do we change it? Because we were talking about being more pragmatic in Europe. We were talking about, playing to the opponent rather than just going out and playing your own game, getting absolutely murdered by a PSG or a Barcelona, which happened first time round. And we gave Brendan loads of plaudits for going away and potentially coming back as a better manager, having been at a provincial club like Leicester, but doing really well with them, even in Europe. So this is the big question, Kevin. Is it a case of, throw them back out there, and it's really going to be a situation of how many, based on the way Dortmund played in that first half? Or do you completely change it to try and learn, as Chris says, something from this game? Can you take anything from it? And I don't mean a point. I mean some kind of respectability in the second half. Is that the way he's going to approach this? He's going to have to, isn't he?
He's going to have to, yeah. I'm just going to say, from what Chris was saying beforehand, I'm just amazed that you managed to get the phrase, we've got to take the positives from this.
I know.
Because that's the only thing that's been more remarkable than you coming out with that line, I think, is the movement of their front four, because it's been devastating. So yeah, I mean that's the difference that we're up against. We don't come up against that level of player. I don't care that the values are over £100 million. Guirassy was the top goal scorer last year. The values don't mean much, but the quality of the player, we just don't come up against that in Scottish football. and sadly it shows on a night like this. And it's a sickener, isn't it? It's one that you've just got to. It's humbling. That's the word. It's humbling, because I think we all came into this game very much in the high. We've scored 16 goals in the last 3 games. That was the stats we were coming out with at the weekend. Looking at Dortmund and maybe thinking they're a bit shaky at the back as well. You know, they score a lot, but they concede a lot. This is a good chance for us. We've definitely realised that it's not. What does Brendan do at half time? Personally, I think Brendan will have us come out and play pretty much the same, but I don't think he should. I think we've got to take a lesson from this, because otherwise, we're playing for pride in the second half. It's the only thing that's left to play for. If we play in the same manner as we have in that first half, we're going to get punished, and it will be an embarrassing scoreline, I think, come the end of it, if it isn't already. I mean, losing 5 in the first half is pretty shocking. But at the same time, I've got notes through that first half where I'm thinking, around about the half-hour mark, 35 minutes in, just got it's 3-1. If we can somehow keep it to 3-1 at half-time, get the lads in,
Exactly.
But then
we're
there's a
in with a
collapse.
chance of doing something, and then then we just collapse, and it was tough to watch. I think second half we've got to come out and just be anti-Celtic in a way. We've got to defend. We've got to try and pack that midfield, because we've lost the midfield so far.
Yeah.
Maeda's our only out ball. Keep him up front in his own if we have to. Get Kyogo off and bring on another midfielder. Just try and solidify things. Yeah, otherwise we're looking at that kind of Bayern Munich Zagreb scoreline, which none of us anticipated before. We definitely don't want to see it now.
No, 100%. You know, when I'm looking at like you say, at that point when it goes 3-1, and you think to yourself, right, this game at that point has the potential to run away from us here. You know, and at that stage, we continue to do what we've been doing for the first 30 minutes of the game. And indeed, it does run away from us. I'd just like to make the point, by the time the referee blew his whistle, Schmeichel had made 4 decent saves as well, on top of the 5 goals that were conceded, 2 which of course were penalties. But there's really is a sense as well, though, Chris. Yeah, I'm not taking away the quality is night and day. I've seen some comments coming through, and I'll be bringing them up, men against boys, and I don't disagree with that. But also at the same time, right, we can't give away slack goals, and we've done that tonight as well, Chris. We've let ourselves down in that respect.
I said it in the pre-match, and we pointed even to the Bratislava game. Mistakes in this competition, simple, basic mistakes, will kill you, and it's happened tonight. And it's happened. Listen, we've been praising Maeda for his efforts going forward. Defensive naivety, things we were slotting Yang for last year. He loses Adeyemi. I mean, Adeyemi is a hell of a player, but he's lost him for the first goal, despite the fact it's an absolute worldie. He's lost him. He's allowed the opportunity to come in. Second one, slack pass, lack of awareness. And again, Adeyemi, we've been punished. I mean, look, there might be world-class strikes. I mean, they really are. But you've got to stop the opportunities, right? Because this, as I say, I can't emphasise it enough. Dortmund is the benchmark team, right? You want to do something in this competition, these are the guys that you've got to go in there and find a way to play against. Not even necessarily win, but as Kevin pointed to, 25, 30 minutes, you're thinking 3-1, okay, manage the game, get us to half-time, shut it down, do it simple. This is what I'm talking about where we need to learn, where we need to stop being naive. Somebody made it in the comments, we're trying to go toe-to-toe with Dortmund, right? It was evident within 20 minutes, that was a bad idea. We are not capable of going toe-to-toe with Dortmund. They're not allowing us to play our game. So what do? You close it down, you stifle it, you play ugly. You stop the guys from getting, the Dortmund players from getting the opportunities. You frustrate them. You play angry if you have to, without losing your discipline too much. But you cannot continue to play the same way. They were cutting us apart like butter. I mean, they really were. It was just, as you say, it was hard to watch. I agree with Kev. I'm not sure Brendan will necessarily change too much half-time. But for me, I think it's about saying, okay, pretend the first half didn't happen, right? Pretend we're no 5 goals down or 4 goals down at this point. Go out there, play with a clean slate, but let's play differently. Let's try and keep the score to 0-0. Get an opportunity if we can. Get a couple of goals. Let's try and win the second half, to use the old cliche. Try and win the second half, or at least match them in the second half. But I think it's time that the bravado and the gung-ho style of play goes out the window. It's now about time to say and demonstrate that actually we're not playing the Ange way in Europe. We're not just the all guns blazing, try and score as many goals. Because to be honest, if we do that, it'll be 10-1 by the end of the match. It's now time to try and win the second half and win it. Use it going into the games that we can win. This one I think might be beyond us.
Well, it is beyond us, and you don't want to have. I mean, 5-1's embarrassing enough, but you don't want it to get to the ridiculous levels, which there is potential that it could when you look at the quality. But what I find a wee bit disappointing as well, Brendan Rodgers has sent his team out with his shape, Kevin. But you're looking at players like Bernardo and Engels, because I know he's young, etc. But I mean, we don't sign a player for 11, rising to £13 million just to play against Falkirk in the Cup. We sign that type of player, that level of player, to play at this level. Now, he knows this level of competition because he played in the Bundesliga last season. He's been absolutely anonymous. Bernardo's actually not just been anonymous, he's been poor. You look at Kuhn, the guy who's been tearing it up in Scotland, and in the first game against Bratislava, let's not forget, he's been poor, barely kicked the ball. Kyogo has been completely anonymous. These are guys that you look to. They're creative forces. You're looking to them, Kev, to do a lot better. Listen, regardless of the quality, they need to do a lot better than what they did in that first half.
They do, absolutely. So yeah, I think we can look at that Dortmund side and we can appreciate, like we said, the quality that's there. Probably every one of their players is an international, or if not, they're knocking on the door of the international team. It's chock full of class. We know what we're up against. But you've got to look at those boys that you've mentioned there, Paul, and I'd even throw Callum McGregor into that one as well. I think the whole midfield has underperformed tonight. But we know that McGregor's a top player. We know Bernardo can do it. He was trusted to do it last season, especially that game against Atletico at home. And Engels has come in with really big reputation. I do rate him really highly, but he's been found lacking today. You can maybe afford to have one of those three having an off game, but not all three. And that's the engine of the team. And once you lose the midfield battle in any game, it's an uphill struggle. And against a side like Dortmund, I mean, you're just asking for trouble. We're giving somebody like Julian Brandt basically the freedom of the midfield to do whatever he wants when he gets the ball. We don't have an answer for Adeyemi or even Gittins when they're running at us. Yanassi's finding space. Yeah, it's really tough, but our big players have failed to turn up tonight, which I think makes it really disappointing. And to top that one off as well, as I say, despite that, up to 30, 35 minutes into the game, you still did think, and maybe it was wishful thinking or seeing things through green tinted specs. You did just think, if we can stay tight and hold it, which I hate to say a big European team would do, they would know how to manage that through. If we could take it to 3-1 at half time, get in, kick a few bombs, go back out with re-energized a little bit, we should have had a chance. We could have got that 3-3 draw.
Yeah.
Now it's beyond us. Now we've got to look at, as you say, it's damage limitation, and how do we do that? How do we approach it? Do we go 5 at the back? Do we bring on another centre back and try to just stop them? Because I think going forward to try and get a goal back and, as Chris says, win the second half just leaves us open to them. To be fair, if I'm Dortmund, I'll just keep on going, because we're going to gift them chances in that second half, unfortunately, if we keep on playing as we have done.
It will be relentless, even with 5 at the back, even with cutting down your attacking options. They have the quality to cut through. As Stephen Sloan, we're a great white shark in Scotland, but a goldfish in Europe. Kurgan says, I don't know what to say. Well, we've had to talk for 15 minutes about it, mate. Aye.
No hiding place.
Mount Cadath, nothing. Nobody's having a good game. Not in the green and white hoops anyway, you're right. Now, but this is the thing. I mean, yeah, we've had some difficult games to contend with since we started covering the matches. We've had a whole season which was a horrific season to cover during COVID. Tonight's up there. Tonight is up there so far with the worst of them. We've also got Big Bruce coming in, absolute hiding, yes. And my fear is, Bruce, that it could get even worse. We need to do something in terms of the shape and the personnel in that second half to kind of stem the tide, because Borussia Dortmund were scoring at will. And I'll point out again, Schmeichel made 4 decent saves in the first half. We are going to go and rejoin the action. Chris, please join us again at full time. Kev, please join us, because if not, I'll be on here myself. And the rest of you guys as well. It's about the only way that you can get over a hiding is to get into the chat with fellow Celtic fans. We'll be here regardless of what happens in the second half.
I tell you, credit to the boys that are out in Dortmund, though, I have to say. Big shout out to them. The boys that are over there, they'll cheer that team to the end of the game. Guaranteed.
Oh, I mean, the support's unbelievable, Chris. And this is the thing. I always feel that the away fans get mugged off. You know, we've got to try and compete. Otherwise, you know, people who are taking holidays and spending vast amounts of cash, and they're getting there by planes, trains and automobiles, and then you go out there and you get an absolute tank, and not for the first time.
Team was my weak performance in the second half. Just even if it's just stemming the flow, they needed it.
That's the message at half-time, Chris, isn't it? That's the message Rodgers has to give to the players. Look at these people out there. They don't have the money, but they find it. They somehow find the money to come out here. We've got to play for them. So thanks, everybody, for getting involved. It's a tough night, and there's another tough 45 ahead. Join us at full time, where we'll try and unpack the whole lot of it. Thanks for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.